Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. For a hitman, it's quite a long stay in Chengdu, but the wine is always nice. A charming beauty approaches the guy. She greets him, asking if he's the only one here. The brunette asks if they know each other. The girl says that she works as a waitress, so she saw him come here for a drink the other day. She evaluates the guy by his accent, realizing that he is a local, and then asks if he likes to drink. The guy also notices that the wine here is wonderful. A representative of the fair sex decides to continue the conversation. She wonders how he ended up in Chengdu. The brunette wants to tell the girl everything that he thinks about her, but a hand falls on his shoulder. Several bald men appear from behind, and their leader claims that this place is occupied. The hero does not understand what is being said. The man asks the guy to step aside so that he can sit down. He notices that he's been sitting here since he came in. The bald man clarifies, really all the time. He claims that all 5 days. At the same time, the guy drinks a glass of chilled alcohol. They ask him if he's looking for death, because they've been here for 5 years. They chase the guy away, and if he doesn't leave, he risks getting burned. One of the thugs grabs the handle of his knife and holds it to the man's throat. The waitress stiffens at what's happening. The brunette scratches the back of his head, telling him not to be so serious. He gets to his feet, giving up his seat and saying goodbye to the girl. The bartender also notes that this is a well-mannered boy. A representative of the fair sex calls him a simple coward, and then gets up from her seat, intending to go about her business, but the bald man grabs her hand. He does not understand where the beauty is going, and why she leaves them as soon as they come. The girl pulls her hand away, begging for forgiveness, and saying that she has a job waiting for her. This only turns the bandit on even more. He notices that when this gigolo was sitting here, she didn't have anything to do, and she just chatted with him, and now it's their turn. One of the guys notices that she wants to offend them with her act. The waitress clarifies what they want. The man asks her not to worry, saying that he is not a bad guy, but just wants to offer her a glass of wine. He opens the bottle and pours out the alcohol, handing it to the girl. The guys exchange expectant glances. Their leader suggests that she drink it as a sign of respect for his feelings. At least a sip or she will offend him. The other guys in the gang put her up to it. One says it's a very good red wine. Another notes that they will immediately leave as soon as she has a drink. The waitress drains her glass in one gulp, then asks them to leave, but her head starts to hurt abruptly. The glass shatters on the floor, and the boys grin contentedly. She realized late that she had made a fatal mistake. At the same time, the brunette is drinking at a table. He notices that 4 men are dragging the same girl on their backs. One of them says that he will help her have fun. Another notes that she has a small waist. The guy knows they're a bunch of fucking garbage. They retreat into a dark alley. The bandit notes that such a hot girl is just a match for the big boss. The boss calls them stupid idiots, because this girl is prettier than the previous one. He puts her on the ground, offering to have fun. The guys start groping her in all places. One of them notices that her skin is very smooth to the touch. Then another man comes into the alley and tells them to calm down. This someone turns out to be a hero. The baldies recognize that recent gigolo. He pisses them off. The brunette also suggests that the cowards go home. Their leader steps forward, noticing the guy's terrible style. At first, he assumes that the guy is an ordinary student, and then claims that he is an illegitimate bastard. The hero also has a strange bag in his hands, which rapists pay attention to. The guy comes closer to the bandits, whose leader can't stand it. He grabs a knife and strikes directly, wanting to kill him today. The dark-haired man dives under the enemy's blow, while simultaneously pulling out his knife with a deft movement. He instantly strikes back, which catches up with his target. Then he tosses the bag aside, because he has another knife in his other hand. The guy gets surrounded by bald men, but he quickly and confidently deals each of them a wound. When a guy finishes up with a bunch of scumbags, he says his name is Don and he's straight, so he hates assholes calling him a motherfucker. After a while, the waitress wakes up in the hospital. She doesn't understand why she's here. The nurse explains that her boyfriend brought her here. The girl immediately becomes interested in where he is and what he looked like. The nurse explains that the guy left, and he was very beautiful and positive in himself. The guy opens his eyes amid the jungle-like vegetation. A drop of water on his cheek wakes him up. He snaps back to consciousness, feeling like he's naked. Don tries to figure out what happened and how he ended up in the woods. He immediately grabs his head, because it is splitting. He remembers being at the Chengdu hotel, but he doesn't know where he is now. More importantly, where are his clothes and knife? He curses, not understanding how it happened. The brunette quickly deduces that it's definitely not Chengdu. It is located in some completely different place. Don speculates that he may have been dropped off by helicopter, but this is not the case. It doesn't matter now. The priority goal is to get out of this place. Then you can find the main instigator of this. With such thoughts, the hero ties himself with vines to close his intimate place and feel more comfortable. He starts moving forward through the dense undergrowth. The guy realizes that getting out will not be so easy because the forest is quite dense. But the main problem is that he cannot feel a single soul, and from this silence he has a chill running through his body. Then he notices a strange trail in the grass. He quickly concludes that such footprints belong to an animal. In the next instant, a loud growl comes from the thicket. Dawn breaks the distance with a somersault, and the beast comes out of the thicket. It's a huge bear. The brunette understands that it has monstrous strength and speed. Dawn had already made a spear out of wood. He is sure that he will have enough strength for this monster. The bear attacks, and the hero goes to the side, striking with a spear. Realizing that the attack was unsuccessful, he prepares for the second round, realizing that it is worth speeding up. The bear attacks him with a roar of rage. The guy jumps out of the way of a paw strike. The brunette begins to run away from the monster, but he is not afraid of it. His idea is to let the monster chase after him, then use the speed of the beast against him to increase the power of his blow. Choosing the perfect moment, the brunette jumps up a tree, then attacks the bear in response. A blow to the monster's face causes it to fall unconscious, but Dawn doesn't have time to relax. He looks back and sees that several four-legged monsters that look like hyenas, but have red pigmentation, have appeared on the carcass of the defeated enemy. The guy understands that the only thing he can do in this situation is to run. He breaks into a run, trying to get away from the monsters. Because of the dense forest, he doesn't notice that he's flying off a cliff. Dawn skillfully groups himself in the air, falling into the water. The boy swims ashore, trying to catch his breath, but a man in armor flies out of the reeds. He falls into the water with an arrow in his back. The hero pulls the wounded man out of the water, then carefully assesses the situation, looking out of the reeds. Chapter 1-3. Dawn is startled by what he sees. Men in armor fight to the death. He understands that this is not like some kind of casting in a movie. Several arrows fly towards him because there are soldiers in front of him. The brunette grabs them with his bare hands. He even wonders what happened after all, because it's all very strange. Everything looks so realistic. As he gets closer, he realizes that people are really dead. He touches the wound of one of the soldiers. There are a number of factors forming in his mind that make him believe that he is on the battlefield. The guy realizes that this is a bad sign. He drags the carcass of the deceased into the bushes, and then comes out in his armor. Dawn notices that she's sitting perfectly still, but he needs to get out of here first, and then he can figure out what to do next. Then an enemy soldier on horseback attacks the hero with a spear from the back. He realizes that he has lost his guard, but the man with the beard pulls him out from under the blow. He says something to him, but Dawn doesn't understand. Enemies are talking in a language unknown to the guy, but the latter does not intend to sit on the sidelines, because since his life was saved, he must repay in kind. The rider snaps at Dawn while the old man shouts something, probably trying to talk the guy out of something stupid. The guy jumps out of the way at the last moment. Both men grin, thinking they've already won, but a stab wound opens on the rider's head and he falls off the rope to the ground while Dawn stands unharmed. The battle stops. Soldiers in black begin to speak loudly, raising their morale. Enemies also desperately attack the hero, because he most likely killed the commander. The brunette confidently handles the spear, repelling the attacks of the crowd. The men in white armor stop their onslaught, not understanding how this is possible. None of them died, but many were badly wounded. Dawn also raises the spear above the ground, and then breaks it in two parts. The real battle begins. The hero cuts his way forward, attacking several opponents at once. He uses a stick and half a spear in battle. Obviously, his style is based on two swords or knives, but even with such things, he is adept at dealing with enemies. A gray-haired old man shouts something to the hero, but he does not understand it, so the peasant has to put himself under attack. Dawn doesn't kill him, surprised by this development. The man grabs the guy's shoulder and says something. The brunette doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Then the old man explains on his fingers that he wants to retreat. There is a reason, and the man points a finger at her. A huge enemy army is moving through the canyon. Dawn realizes that this is getting dangerous. He curses, because he doesn't understand where so many enemies came from. The hero starts running away with everyone else. He sees that not everyone will be able to leave the battlefield. He realizes that these guys are even more violent than he is. The brunette tries to figure out the reason why he got involved in this fight in the first place, but it doesn't matter right now. There are only a few thousand soldiers on the Allied side, when the enemy has at least 10 and probably even more, so we must retreat. Seeing that the old man who saved his life is exhausted and unable to run on his own, Dawn scoops him up onto his shoulders, mentally noting that they should try to disappear as quickly as possible. The brunette understands that if they delay, they will surely die. The man says something, presumably asking him to leave. Dawn is surprised to find a dead end. The realization that things are getting worse does not please the hero. It turns in the direction of the enemies. Their leader stepped forward. He said something, after which a volley of arrows was sent towards the Allied army. There are too many arrows, so Dawn can't protect everyone. Several hundred soldiers were killed at once. He gets an idea of how to get out of this situation. He looks back, but the old man is already dead. An arrow stabs him in the shoulder, bringing him to his senses. He pulls it out abruptly, then makes a quick dash for cover. He's going to sit here and come out when everyone's gone. The soldiers also filled up the entrance to the shelter with carcasses. But everything is not so simple, because the enemy leader took out a torch, apparently intending to set fire to all the corpses of the enemy, so that there are no survivors. Don coughs up blood. He managed to get a bandage from somewhere and bind up his injured arm. At the same time, a fire breaks out outside. The guy wonders if he's going to die here. This causes him to laugh hysterically, which turns into a cough. He begins to think that this is how God punishes him for all those murders and his cruelty. After that, the hero declares that all this is funny, starting to laugh. At the same time, a bone hand appears from the ground. The hero's pupils narrow to the size of a needle when he sees a hand. After a couple of seconds, a full-fledged skeleton climbs out of the ground. The brunette doesn't understand what this nonsense is, and where this skeleton came from in the first place. When the skeleton is fully revealed, Don realizes that it is most likely a ghost, because it is surrounded by an evil scarlet aura. The dead man looks directly at the hero, and the hero doesn't even know what to say. When the ghost starts walking towards him, the dark-haired man greets him, then asks him not to go near, warning that he has put a cloud on people like him. Then he asks why he got out in the first place. The skeleton pulls its hand towards the other person, opening its jaw, in which a strange red ball appears. The dark-haired man doesn't understand what's going on here at all, and then all his vision is blurred by white light. It turns out to be completely naked in a white space. His name is Yang Lai. It just so happened that he became a dark spirit. One day, he fell in love with a woman named Shujin. He would do anything for her, even give up your life. But later, he had to fight 5 other masters for it in Xianying Valley. This could be called a battle between the masters of light and darkness. The result was only a sea of blood spilled for nothing. He had never asked her to be grateful to him, but what had happened had turned his mind upside down. She had betrayed him in their promise to love each other forever. She asked Xian Shenjai to finish him off when he was already mortally wounded. As he bled, he screamed her name with tears in his eyes. He didn't want to believe what was happening, reaching for her like the last ray of light. He would never forget how that Xian Shenji had laughed when he was dying, and how their bond with Shujin had been shattered when the enemy had kissed her. The hero woke up in the real world. He got to his feet, feeling the energy seep into his body. He understands that this power should have been transferred to the one whose blood will be spilled in this place. Don realizes that he must now learn Yang Lai's power and memories before becoming a master of the dark arts. The brunette is a little sorry that his halo was already depleted, which is why the guy managed to absorb only a little, but Don is not upset because it played into his hands and his position. The guy climbs out of his hiding place, where there is a pile of burnt corpses. He's going to go after Shujin. He was very lucky, because thanks to Yang Lai's spirit, his wounds were completely healed. The hero admits that this spirit is still amazing, because his wounds are not only completely healed, but he also feels much better. The body began to feel very light. After entering the battlefield, he started walking over the corpses of his comrades. Don doesn't understand what they've done. He wants to cut them up, but he can't understand why he feels compassion for these people. The answer is found quickly. It's in the spirit of Yang Lai. The brunette realizes that sharing a body with such an annoying spirit will be problematic, because he is too soft-hearted. The spirit decides to get out of here quickly and find Shujin. The hero also asks for forgiveness from him, believing that first they need to avenge their soldiers. It turns out that Dong is located in Haoshan. The capital is Shangjin, founded by Yunjin. Haoshan includes 9 kingdoms. Recently, ordinary landlords have increased their influence so much that they have become the equal of even the most royal nobility, so now there is a sense of tension between them. The landlords could have tried to overthrow the real power, but so far they didn't dare because of fear of the kingdom's strength. The hero is located in Feng, the birthplace of Yang Lai. Dong gets to the next battle, which is more like a fight. He recognizes the Ningyi warriors. He is happy about it, because now he can repay them for everything. The guy notes that there is more 19 than he expected. A few hundred, at least, but a few hundred is nothing to him. Then a voice from the back turns to the hero, clarifying whether he is going to defeat the whole pack alone. He looks around, asking if he's from Feng. The unknown person notices that if he were not from Feng, then he would already be a corpse. Don also says that the young man is not a mistake, because all this time I was watching him and he did not notice. It is for this reason that the hero wonders why he did not deal with their enemies, since he is so capable. The interlocutor confesses that he has been sitting here all the time, because without spiritual martial arts there is nothing to catch, only to die in vain. Mentally, the hero notices that he thought that the opponent was a martial artist. Don snatches the spear from the other person, claiming that his companions are fighting on the battlefield, and he is here to cool off, sitting on the spot and watching. The guy calls him a pathetic coward. Tom doesn't like this, so he notices that there are still a lot of enemies left. While they have more than 20 people, and only a few of those who can still fight. The hero grins at this, and then breaks into battle. The other person asks him to think better of it and stop. One of the allies was surrounded on both sides, while he was holding off one enemy's onslaught. The other was about to stab him in the back. Don stops him with one quick and precise punch, punching him in the chest. Opponents quickly notice the appearance of a new soldier in the ranks of the unfriendly army. One of them offers to throw all of them at him at once, but it doesn't really help. The hero confidently holds the blow, killing several people with each swing of the spear. At the same time, the allies rejoice, believing that they are saved. Don asks them to go ahead, assuring them that he will cover their retreat. Meanwhile, the guy from the bushes is amazed at what is happening. Everyone praises Don, calling him powerful. When the survivors escape, the hero notes that now there is a place to turn around. He throws his weapon at the feet of his enemies, thereby showing that he will fight with his bare hands. Those who understand that it was a very arrogant act. A soldier with an incredible mass and height comes forward. He's twice the guy's height and weighs 5 times as much. He declares that he will fight Don. The brunette just smiles at that. Such actions make the bully angry, and he shouts that he will cut the guy in half. He raises his axe over his head with one hand, and Don notices that his opponent is acting too thoughtlessly. Dark energy begins to spread across the hero's arm. At the last moment, the hero moves away from the enemy's blow, declaring that his mistake is a great pity. The guy's hand is on the helmet of the opponent in an instant, who immediately starts begging to be released. In a few seconds, the entire body of the bully is engulfed in dark fire, and Don himself demands that they burn to ashes. The soldiers are afraid to approach this madman, and the sloth from the bushes is amazed that his interlocutor has a dark fire. In a short period of time, Bigman's entire body disappears, turning into energy. All that remains is the armor. Don declares that none of them will leave here alive today. The fighters don't know if they're facing a human or a monster. This causes laughter from the hero, who emphasizes that now each of them will share the fate of this poor guy. After these words, the brunette breaks into a crowd of enemies. Some do not have time to react to his attacks, but some still manage to follow the guy's movements. But this is not enough, because Don easily avoids all their attacks, and his touches dry up the soldiers. In a few minutes, only their armor remains from the enemies. Dong thanks Yang Lai, because it's quite a useful ability, but it's just tiring to accumulate energy. This dark fire is one of the skills of the masters of the dark arts. Don realizes that he's not as useless as he thought. A pathetic coward comes out of the bushes, claiming that the guy is a master of the dark art. The hero is surprised that this person turned to him again. The latter assures that Tom should not worry, because he will not tell anyone. Don decides to clarify whether the other person can control his fire or has just seen it before. The guy admits that he can't do anything like this, but he's read a lot of books and knows astronomy and geography, and he also knows it all from books about dark martial arts. The hero also says that he is sure that the guy will inform the others, so he will have to kill him, because only the dead man will not tell anyone anything. The boy crosses his hands, saying that there is no way, and that he can't kill him because he will lose a lot. Don even wonders what he's going to lose. The other person says that he is so well read that no one can tell him more than he can, so he should go with a dark martial artist and help him with everything. His name is Eugene. Don settles into a sitting position, noting that for the last few minutes he's been thinking about going back in time. The guy doesn't understand what it's like to go back in time. The interlocutor explains to him that this is when a person moves back from their actual time, but this does not reach the interlocutor. Dark martial arts are divided into 2 schools, internal and external. The teaching of the dark art and the light art do not have any special differences. The strengthening of Reiki depends on the students themselves. They differ only in their skills and abilities. However, in the inner school of the dark arts, the student cannot strengthen his Reiki by himself. In order to accumulate Reiki, the student must constantly fight, killing their enemies with dark fire. Dark fire is the foundation of the inner school. It is also the most difficult skill. At the very beginning, a disciple can be killed by their own dark fire, which is why there are so few of them right now followers of the dark school. Because of this, all dark arts experience rejection and pressure from other schools. Therefore, students of the dark martial art are treated as enemies. Under such pressure, those who have ever wanted to practice this art have to give up after combining. Yang Pai Tenjin has a small supply of Reiki, so he needs to replenish it. The enemies that appear in front of them are the best way to do this, but he doesn't want to give himself away, so he sends the Feng warriors ahead to see his abilities. Eugene claims that he is the smartest person here because of his reading skills. This makes Don laugh, who, after calming down, decides to clarify, since the interlocutor is so smart, why he is not yet an officer, but only cannon fodder. The same explains that it is difficult for a commoner to achieve heights in military affairs. The system is simple. The more enemies you kill, the faster you get promoted. Eugene will collect the heads of their enemies to get a reward. So Dawn will be their strength, and he will be their head. If they combine their powers, they will become invulnerable, and also get a faster promotion. The guy clarifies, so what does the hero think about the idea of forming an alliance? Then he notices that the other person is leaving. Eugene shouts after him, not knowing where he's gone. The hero explains that the guy will never learn a spiritual martial art, so he will only be a burden for him. Besides, he's not interested in titles or war. He needs to sort out his personal affairs. The interlocutor notices that the hero is very rude, because he speaks as if he is nothing, although he, at least, is a scientist. He says goodbye to the guy, then leaves. Eugene asks him to stop. Dawn tells me that he is going to the city of the moon spirit. The interlocutor thinks about it, then asks if this is the city that is at the peak of sunset, and why he should go there. The hero confirms that this is exactly the right city, and then asks if the interlocutor knows where this place is. Eugene points out that he knows astronomy and geography perfectly, so there is no place in the world that he doesn't know. But he makes a reservation that there are few people who know anything about this place, because a few hundred years ago this city turned into a pile of ruin. He believes that the scientist is lying, but Eugene assures him that he can't lie, because all that remains of this city is history. The hero recalls that when he saw Tupyon lie, he was already decomposed to the bone. To confirm his guess, Dawn decides to find out what year it is, according to the imperial calendar. The interlocutor replies that it is 805. It turns out that it's been 500 years since Yang Li's death. Shujin and Xian Shenjai are already dead. After all, they couldn't have lived for 500 years. The hero thinks about what to do with his revenge, where to go and how it all could have happened. The hero clutches his head, not understanding why everything turned out this way. Then Eugene's hand falls on his shoulder. The guy asks what's wrong with him. Dawn also says that now he doesn't know where to go, or even what to do. He has a feeling that everything has lost its meaning. But the scientist notices that there is nothing to think about. In their time they should do something completely unimaginable. He asks the master of dark martial arts to put it out of his mind, because first they need to get out of this place. The hero specifies whether the friend offers to simply run away from the battlefield. Eugene explains that this battle is in Ning territory. The wrong time and place was chosen here, so if you don't run away, you can only wait for your fate. Yun and Ning have long been neighbors, so the war between them never stopped. Fights are being held for the eastern territory of the river. The eastern territory of the river has fertile soils and is rich in minerals. The territory is divided into Feng and Ning domains. Later, Ning had some problems and asked Feng for help. The ruler promised to give half of the land to Feng, but Feng gets the land to Ning. Because of this, Ning expresses his displeasure. As Ning deals with his problems, the country tries to reclaim its lands, but Feng is not going to give up anything. That's when the war between the two countries begins. During the battle, Ning and Feng occupy the eastern territory of the river. Both countries claim that the eastern lands are theirs. The losses are growing. It is already difficult to assess the situation. The hero decides to clarify the situation, whether all this is because of the eastern territories. Eugene points out that it would be nice if they took back the eastern territories. It's terrible that they've had so many battles this year. They've lost many times before, and he doesn't know when they'll be able to get their land back. Dawn understands that since the founding of Feng, the war has not stopped. The scientist says he never found out his name. The hero introduces himself as Tenjin. Eugene notes that if the interviewee stays in the army, then his abilities will be appreciated, and he can even become his patron. The hero decides to find out if he wants to make friends with him. Eugene replies that he can say so. In addition, he emphasizes that if the hero takes it with him, he cannot worry that someone will find out his secret. Tenjin makes a blot, saying that he won't worry if he kills him. Then the scientist declares that the guy will not do it. This confidence intrigues the hero a little, so he decides to find out where its origins come from. Eugene explains that if he kills him, he will lose someone who can give him a new idea, so he must understand how important it is to him now. The scientist notes that they can't stay here too long, which is why it's worth moving out right now. The hero still decides to find out where they are going. The scholar replies that they are going to Tongmen, because they will be safe if they go through it, because most of the warriors are there. The hero also recalls that Tongmen is one of the most important cities of Feng on the eastern front. Outside of Tongmen are the lands for which the war is being waged. Through the city stretches a plain, along which you can go to the capital of Feng, Yangcheng. He thinks that there is no reliable defensive position there. Eugene says that from his observations, he realized that the partner is a beginner in the spiritual martial art, so he decides to find out what level he has reached. The hero explains that he can barely move for the light of the spirit. Tenjin specifies how the interlocutor understood this. The scientist explains that everything is very simple. The dark fire he used is a lethal discharge. If he's not mistaken, this is the first level of dark fire. The hero notices that he has now realized that Eugene does not understand anything about this. This turns the other person on, and they decide to show their knowledge, considering it a second chance. Dark fire has 3 levels. Pervy, deadly burning. With it, he can burn down any opponent and collect 50% of their Reiki. The second is spiritual burning. With it, he can collect 100% of the Reiki. And the third is absolute burning. With it, he can incinerate everything in this world and collect the Reiki of all living creatures. But after the incident in the martial arts world, no one has reached the 3rd level yet. Even now, there is almost no one who practices dark fire, so it is surprising that this happened to the interlocutor. Eugene laughs, amazed at how smart he is. The hero notices something strange. Tenjin shuts up the other person's mouth, demanding to be quiet. He lays him down on the ground, saying that he feels a murderous urge. He walks forward, asking me to follow him. Here, a bald, beefy man appears from the bushes, who tries to take advantage of the surprise effect, attacking the hero in flight with a battle pole. The dark-haired man sends the attacker to the ground with one powerful blow. The same person understands that he has met exactly the person he was looking for. A crowd of young men jump out of the bushes, shouting the name of their leader. His name is Ola Jang. Tenjin decides to ask if they are from Feng. The leader of the group stops his men, saying that they are all from Feng. One of the subordinates asks if this is the guy who saved them all. He exhales calmly, realizing they're all on the same side of the fence. It turns out that all these soldiers said a lot about the hero. He's glad he's still alive. Eugene also notes that it is very good that they are on their side. Ola Jang approaches the hero, apologizing for his attack because he thought that he was from the Ning, who are chasing them. Tenjin notices that they don't look like they're running away from the chase, so he asks why they were hiding in the bushes instead. The leader explains that their people are exhausted, so they can't leave. Eugene states that if they don't want to die, they should go with brother Tenjin, because when the Ning get here, they will all die. These words amaze everyone, and the hero gets a little angry. Feeling this tense atmosphere, the scientist decides to explain to his friend that there is nothing wrong with the number, because the more they are, the safer it is. And if he leaves them alone, they will definitely die, because they are already barely standing on their feet. Tenjin is forced to agree to increase his group. Eugene then announces that his brother has agreed to take them with him. Merging with Yang Lai made Tenjin a ball and helped start a new life. This created a new legend for Feng. This story is just beginning. Eugene understands that they will hide here and wait until the Ning convoy passes, but he doesn't know how they will get the horses. The hero suggests simply stealing them. Ola Jang notices that this will be too dangerous, so you should think of something else. At this time, the horsemen of the enemy army gallop nearby, chasing the comrades of the Trinity. The leader of the group, seeing how his surviving comrades are killed, gets angry, but there is nothing he can do. Then a huge Ning soldier bursts into the crowd of Feng soldiers, who is practically unarmored. He uses a spear, which easily cuts off the limbs of enemies. Everyone is amazed at what they saw. Even Tenjin is a little tense from this. A unique fighter declares that all of them here must die. The surviving soldiers tremble in fear, falling off their feet in terror. A muscular enemy soldier raises his weapon to continue the carnage. Then one of the Feng soldiers starts sobbing, begging for someone to help them. Eugene urges his brother to be reasonable, because it will be too dangerous to interfere in this. But when he turns his head, the hero is no longer there. He notices that Tenjin has entered the battlefield again. With one powerful blow, he forced the bully to back away, but the muscle car did not fall and even struck back, from which the hero dodged. The rest of the Ning riders stopped to watch such an unusual fight. Eugene was chastising his teammates for missing the guy. At the same time, Tenjin stood in front of a huge warrior, who began to grin at the sight of a strong opponent. They began to slowly draw closer to each other. The hero realized that he had absorbed the spirit of the fallen soldiers, and then collected them in his weapons to release them. This is a bad sign, because he can only control the flow of energy so far, but this does not mean that Tenjin will give up. After dodging several attacks from the enemy, the guy inflicts a wound on him, asking if he has ever heard of a game of cat and mouse. The hero quickly realizes that the enemy does not understand him. The goon runs his hand over a shallow wound on his torso, and his leader orders the arrogant boy to be killed. However, there are twinkles in the giant's eyes. He orders everyone to stop, stating that none of them will pass to him because this is his opponent. This time, Tenjin attacks first. He throws a jump punch with his sword. The goon takes it on his spear. Their auras collide with each other, figuring out who is stronger. It doesn't last even a moment, because the guy realizes that he is inferior in brute force to the enemy, so he stops the collision, soaring into the sky. The enemy's attack goes into the milk, and he also steps on his head, sticking his sword right in the back. The hero does not linger on the enemy, because he is still combat ready. He jumps away from it in time, moves away from the point of the spear, and then hits the enemy's head in the fall. The sword goes into the head, but the helmet dampens most of the impact. The muscle car gets angry, grabbing the hero by the throat and starting to squeeze. A bloody cough escapes from the guy's mouth, and the enemy prepares to kill him. The hero declares that he will not die here. The sword gets stuck in the head of the bully, so he reaches out with his hand to the head of the opponent, wanting to devour him to the last drop. The hero's eyes turn red, and the iris turns black. It reaches the enemy, starting to envelop him in black flames. The opponent asks you to stop, knowing what is going on. In an instant, the body of a huge, muscular soldier disappears into Tenjin's hand. His mouth is steaming, and his eyes are filled with an unquenchable thirst for blood. The Ning riders are confused, not quite sure what to do. Eugene commands a squad of soldiers, announcing that the leader of the enemy army has been killed, which means that it's time to attack. They break into battle. The bald commander demands that no one is allowed to leave, because they need their heads to get a reward. A battle begins, in which soldiers in black armor immediately begin to crowd the enemies, who are confused by what is happening. They haven't let go of what they've seen yet. The hero notices that everything is very interesting. He stands there and doesn't interfere with the carnage, just laughing at the whole thing. The Ning soldiers begin to run away in a panic, but they are blocked by a bald commander who notices that they have nowhere to run. With a couple of swings, he takes the life of cowards. Eugene approaches the hero, who states that he thinks these are the people he was looking for. The scientist asks his brother to try not to do this again, because he risks his life. The hero also notes that this should not concern him at all. Eugene claims that this was the case before, but not now, because his life directly depends on his. So while they are alive, we must cling to every opportunity. Here the scientist stops abruptly. Tenjin explains that he knows what needs to be done. He emphasizes that he is not a complete idiot, and then clarifies why the interlocutor fell silent. Eugene also picks up a strange thing from the ground. Recognizing it as a clerk, this is the sign of the commander of 1,000 people in the ancient Greek army. Eugene starts to cry, because this is their first achievement. The hero notices that the reward gives a head, but they don't have his head. The interlocutor says that it's okay, because the soldiers' badges will also come off. Besides, there were a lot of witnesses. Tenjin notices that he now understands why he collected the tokens. The scientist claims that he will do it himself. He orders his subordinates to collect all the heads so that they can exchange them for a reward. Night falls. My friends, send me a head. The hero decides to find out how many people they have. Eugene says a little over 100. He divided them into 4 groups with their temporary captains, making Tenjin their leader and himself his deputy. The hero decides to clarify whether they are going to Tongmin or not. The interlocutor gives a positive answer, but Tenjin notes that they will need a huge number of horses in this case. Eugene suggests we take our time. He believes that you should first move at the fastest speed, and only later try to get the horses along the way. After that, the scientist changes the subject, wanting to introduce him to the 4 temporary captains. 4 soldiers come out of the bushes, after which Eugene asks them to introduce themselves to their leader. Their names are Yuhua, Zhang Bao, Liu, and Zhang Hun. The scientist says that now they can go to bed, because tomorrow they will have a difficult road. The hero notices that it will rain tomorrow. The next morning comes, and as the hero said, it's raining outside. He points out that if they keep moving at the same pace, they won't get to Tongmen in not only 3, but 10 days. Eugene says they've been through quite a lot, and people are exhausted and need a break. The hero allows them to take a little breath. Then the scientist first falls on his back, saying that he has been waiting for these words for a very long time. The guy calls Zhang Bao to him. The hero notes that as soon as they stop to rest for a period of more than 5 minutes, he must send a soldier to patrol the territory in order to notice the enemy within a mile radius. A man doesn't know what 5 minutes is. The guy explains that this is the time it takes to burn a stick of sandalwood. The subordinate accepts the order. Eugene notices that Brother Teng is going a little overboard. The hero approaches him, stating that Tom needs to remember something. He says that it is better to protect yourself once again than to die because of carelessness. The other person accepts these words. Then one of the scouts comes running, shouting that he has an urgent message. It turns out that the enemies are right at the front. Eugene marvels that they've been caught up in such a short time. Tenjin also specifies how many of them there are. The subordinate admits that they are too far away to say exactly how many troops they have, but they have horses. These words make the leader smile, because everything is going very well for them. He orders everyone to take their places and put everything away so that they don't leave anything behind. Everyone is hiding in the bushes. There is a small army of the enemy. Eugene, looking at them from the bushes, doesn't understand how he didn't see them. Tenjin drags him into the bushes, telling him to keep a low profile. Here the scientist asks to wait. He manages to make out the girl at the beginning of the army. This is a beauty with purple hair. Her name is Ons. It is important for the hero whether they belong to Feng or not. Eugene explains that Feng includes the 4 strongest families, Zhang, Dance, and Liang. The girl belongs to the dance family. The hero comes out of the bushes, ordering everyone to follow him. He approaches the rider. Eugene asks him to come to his senses, because he does not understand what his brother is up to. Tenjin asks the brothers to come out, because the riders are on their side. The rider who is approached by the hero understands that it is embroidered from Feng. He decides to find out who is in charge here, because he will go with him to their general. The scientist decides to clarify something to the hero. He asks not to anger the dance family, because she has great power. Tenjin says that Eugene will go with him, and Eugene notices that accompanying dance can save their lives. They walk out of the crowd and are greeted by a purple-haired beauty on a horse. It specifies which regiment they belong to. Eugene, realizing that they are the leaders of the Feng Dens, bows his head, declaring that it is an honor for him to see the two Dens generals. He notices that his brother is not kneeling. The girl decides to find out if these are his people. The hero understands that he is communicating with a woman. Eugene asks his brother to kneel in a whisper, but he doesn't, claiming that they are just ordinary Feng warriors, and he was just leading them. The interlocutor becomes interested in this, and she asks his name. The hero calls his name. His subordinates, who have bowed their knees, are surprised by what is happening. They are afraid that their leader will bring down the girl's anger on them. The same notes that he is an interesting guy. The leader laughs, then announces that starting today, Tenjin and his group of deserters will obey her. The hero does not like that she called his subordinates deserters. Eugene asks his brother to calm down. The scholar bows his head, saying that they have fought countless battles with the Ning along the way, killing hundreds of their soldiers, including Hillark. The last word surprises the girl. The guy holds out a token, asking the general to check it out. The leader carefully studies it, then offers to see the Daning, because in her opinion it is authentic. The second girl says that it belonged to Zhao Yang. She wonders if Eugene killed him. The latter says that it was not he who did it, but his brother, who is a master of spiritual arts. This surprises both girls. The first one decides to find out what his rank is. The hero claims that he is an ordinary soldier. The girl can't understand how he can remain an ordinary soldier when he is a master of spiritual arts. She assumes that he didn't even attend the admissions office. She finds this very suspicious, so she decides to find out what's on his mind. The girl activates the recognition spell. Tenjin's aura strikes her to the core. She says he's one of the Dark Masters. These words strain everyone present. The smile also disappears from the hero's face. As a child, Yang Lai was bullied by his peers who wanted to beat him to death. His beloved intervened in the case, who often tried to stop the beating. They always threatened him with death if he continued to practice the dark martial art. One of them noted that the light school belongs to the fire element, and the dark school belongs to the water element, so he is not a match for them. They were telling him to stop studying the dark arts and leave Derainview. The hero takes a fighting stance. The iris becomes black, and the eyes themselves take on a scarlet hue. Subordinates are encouraged to stop it. He understands that there are probably two light masters here, so to survive, he will have to kill both of them. The soldiers draw their swords. Their leader calls for protecting the generals, but the girl already declares that Tenjin is not their enemy. She turns to the guy, asking if he didn't want them to know that he was one of the Dark Masters. The girl asks if the guy visited the admissions office. He freezes, not understanding what is being said. Eugene steps forward, saying that it's true. He asks his brother to calm down, because now he will not have to hide his power. He asks Tenjin to just nod at everything. The girl notices that this is a very resourceful guy who quickly resolved the situation. She clarifies whether the hero would not like to become her Hillard of the Third Corps. This proposal raises many questions for the second general. This suggestion shocks Eugene. He immediately drops to one knee, thanking the girl for the offer. He asks Tenjin to do the same. The latter thanks you for the offer. The beauty also notices that he deserves all this, because killing Zhao Yang and saving the surviving squad is entirely his merit. But now they are in a difficult situation, so she will not be able to give him a squad of thousands of soldiers while he has to be content with his own. Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release a new part. Eugene congratulates his brother on his promotion, noting that he is now free to call him a Chiliarch. The hero claims that this title does not interest him. Then the friend jokingly says that he can apply for the rank of colonel or general, and then announces what exactly. He will be his assistant today, and tomorrow his general. The hero notices that he didn't say such a thing. Their conversation is interrupted by a girl. It encourages them to move in the same direction. Tenjin thinks about how he should get out of this situation. The guy decides to introduce himself to one of the riders. His name is Wui, and he is a colonel of the Third Corps. The man apologizes for the events that took place earlier, wishing give the hero a horse as an apology. The guy notes that there's nothing wrong with that happened and thanks for the space. The interviewee states that they are now on the same side. Therefore, there is no need to follow the formalities, because he is only a few years older than him. so he can call him Brother Wu. Tenjin climbs into the square, saying that respect is one of the most important things in the army. This causes Colonel Wu laughs. Eugene, on the other hand, knows in his mind that Brother Teng is doing a great job, and he's in a good mood. He didn't doubt it. Brother Wu informs them that they will rest in the evening, and then he will be given his badge and a new uniform, and there's nothing he can do about the warriors, because they've lost too many battles. Third and the Fourth Corps had more than 20,000 warriors, but no one was left. They also had 10 Chiliarchs are at the very beginning of the campaign, but 5 of them are already dead, and 2 more are deadly wounded. Only 3 of them can fight. Now they need more than just Chiliarchs. The colonel points out that, fortunately, both the ladies of dance were unharmed, so now they are being treated to the same treatment. The main task is to protect them. Tenjin falls a little behind the group to call Eugene over, from whom he decides to ask who the ladies of dance are. This causes a stupor in a scientist who does not know what to do. Understands how his brother might not know who they are. Eugene begins to explain. The one who gave him the rank, Wu Mei, General Dance. The other one is the same. This is Wu In, Jin's second daughter. The guy asks his brother to remain vigilant and give them. Appearances fool themselves, because they are cold-blooded, evil, cruel devils. This surprises Tenjin a little, but he still takes these words into account. Evening comes, and the army sets up camp. Brother Wu comes to the hero's tent, taking his new combat uniform with him. And equipment. The guy takes a small sign, realizing that it is his token. Comrades are happy that the general kept his word, which is why Tenjin will now look like a real Chiliarch. The hero decides to find out if he can make Eugene his assistant. Brother Wu points out that it's all up to him. It is the Chiliarch who can decide who to appoint. After that, the colonel asks the hero to go with him to the generals, because they have business with him. Tenjin asks if the other person knows what she wants from him. The man obviously knows, however, says he'll know when to meet her. The hero asks you to wait, deciding first. Try on a new form. Wu is waiting for the guy outside the tent. It doesn't take long for him to get out of it. A new uniform. The guards at the general's tent only let him pass because they want to. See you alone. He gets a suspicious premonition. He wants to apologize for what bothered him at such a late hour. But when he opens the curtain to the tent, he freezes because a representative of the fair sex lies in a very provocative pose, saying that she is very happy. See it? Tenjin asks right from the doorway why General Wu needed him at such a late hour. He looks away from me, so as not to be provoked. The girl laughs, saying that General Tenjin is as smart as he is brave, and this armor, they sit on it like a glove. The hero asks the interlocutor not to mock him. She ask him to sit down, and the hero fulfills this request, taking a samurai pose on his knees. A representative of the fair sex clarifies whether a weapon is suitable for a young person. That one gives a short answer, saying that this will do. She also says that her father gave this sword as a gift when she was 18 years old. At the same time, the girl crawls up to the interlocutor, touching then he looks directly into the guy's eyes, noting that he hopes that General Tenjin is a good guy. Stay with them. Tenjin thanks General Wu, claiming that she is very generous. The girl opens the map, saying that according to the latest data, the Ning army is located in this area, at a point on the only accessible road to Tongmen. There are more than 8,000 of them. Thus, we'll have to go back to Tongmen and fight off the attack. The hero understands that they are waiting for a hard job. General Wu says it's very difficult, but there's nothing you can do about it. The enemy's strength is great, but its units are dispersed. Having selected a selected squad, they attack in the center. Then both flanks of the enemy will move to the center to repel the attack. The girl notices that General Tenjin is like a dragon and a phoenix among people, so if she takes over the command of the unit that strikes in the center, she can be sure of success of the entire operation. The hero is silent, thinking about the situation. Representative. The fair sex believes that General Tenjin will not refuse to carry out this order. Guy declares that after the generosity shown to her, he has no choice but to take a chance with your life and do it. The girl understands that she was not mistaken in the interlocutor. She puts her arm around his shoulders, making sure he doesn't. If he wants to stay any longer, General Wu wants to kiss him, but the brunette abruptly breaks up, distance himself by pulling him to his feet and telling him that he was good at killing more people, not killing more people. Courtship. The hero turns around, claiming to have understood General Wu's plan, so he asks for permission. Leave it, noticing that he will wait for the order to move. With that, he leaves the tent. Girls. She also knows that she has stumbled upon a very interesting specimen. When he returns to his tent, he tells his friends what they are going to do. Eugene says it's certain death. Tenjin also notices that his brother once said that he had 5 carts of knowledge in his head. A small cart, which means he'll figure out a way for them to save their own skins. The scientist begins. Reflect on the situation. The hero says that they need a plan to break through deep enemy units to their commander-in-chief. He asks the other person to think about it while he sleeps. Eugene, on the other hand, understands that he has been given a great responsibility, so he starts analyzing it. After a while, he comes to the conclusion that if the brother, Tenjin, wants to get to their commander, there's only one way to do it. The next morning, at dawn, the hero gathers all his people. The order has already been received, so he won't be able to refuse. The guy says he doesn't want to put them in a difficult position, so if they want to go with him, he will be happy, and if they don't want to, he won't force them. He informs them that they can stay and follow General Wu. Zhang Bao first falls on me, stating that if it wasn't for brother Tenjin, he would have been killed by warrior Ning long ago, so his life is in the hands of his savior. Where brother Tenjin goes, so does he. The heads of the other squads fall to their knees, saying that they will follow brother Tenjin into the fire and water. This triggers a battle cry from the soldiers, which increases morale. The hero decides to clarify that they might die if they follow him, so he asks if they are not afraid of death. The soldiers in one voice shout that with brother Tenjin they are not afraid of the devil himself. Then the guy gives the orders. Zhang Bao's men will have to change into Ning warriors' uniforms. The third squad will pretend to be prisoners. Eugene starts to say something, but the hero interrupts him, noting that this whole thing is extremely dangerous, so his deputy will remain here with the sisters. Wu. He orders the guy not to follow him into the heat of battle. The scientist specifies whether they will see each other. More of them. The brunette admits that he doesn't know, but he will try to come back. There's a man here who brought it to him yesterday. Reports that General Wu is ordering them to move out. The hero commands about the beginning. Operations. Soldiers during the march sing a song. When trouble came to the country, I went to war. I will die with honor or return with glory. At this time, second sister Deng says she doesn't know. Why did my sister choose this person? Because his Reiki is not so powerful. The girl is the same. He claims that he feels that everything will work out for him. The hero puts the point of the sword to the enemy's throat. He doesn't understand what's going on because Tenjin has put his clothes on, Ning's uniform. Everyone else turns around at this sight, and the hostage realizes that they have. A spy appeared in the rear. The guy cuts the enemy soldier's throat without any hesitation. Blood flows freely. One of the soldiers tries to inform the others about the enemy, demanding that they do not let him near them. To the prince, Tenjin also throws a sword at him, which plunges into the mouth, coming out from the back of the head. The man drops dead, and the guy warns that he will kill all those who stand in his way. The soldiers are ordered to kill the impudent man, but the hero calmly moves towards his goal by cutting. An ordinary warrior with his sword appears, a man with a beard and mustache, clad in golden armor. He demands that everyone leave his place. Roads. At the same time, a group of soldiers leading prisoners of war is stopped at the Ning checkpoint. They demand that you let them pass immediately, because this group of Feng prisoners may have important information. The soldier at the gate says that the head of Yu has just come with news that they will be able to. We'll have to wait. The interviewee states that since such circumstances have developed, they'll wait here. Soldier Ning notices that they are tired, so they can rest, because the head of Yu, it won't be free for a while yet. This forces a Feng soldier disguised in an enemy uniform. Tense up and ask why this is. The reason is the prince. Such a display of curiosity makes the guard tense. So he notices that the other person is asking too many questions for an ordinary soldier. At this point, the guy draws his sword. The guy plunges the point of the sword into the soldier's throat, and then uses it as a support too. They could jump on nearby Ning soldiers, one of whom wants to report the enemy, but already it's too late, because his head is flying off his shoulders. The other soldiers step forward, pointing at me. They surround the guy, trying to attack him from a decent distance and at the same time with the help of long spears, but he bends down in time, and then cuts off all of them with a sweeping movement. Opponent's legs. Those present are tense because of such unique skills of the guy. He's taking off his helmet, showing your face. This person turns out to be the hero. Zhang Bao asks Brother Teng, move forward, leaving the rest of the bastards to him. That's what he does. A commotion begins in the inner part of the camp. Higher ranks give orders, strengthen security, because if something happens, they're screwed. Tenjin understands that he needs to go faster, get to the main tent, because his guys won't last long. Then he hears a rustle, sides of the tent entrance. Soldier Ning comes to him and immediately points his sword at him, asking who he was and what he was doing here. The guy claims that the enemy is so strong that he decided to sit out here. Upon hearing this, the interviewee, he screams that he is a pathetic coward and that he will be court-martialed. Tenjin orders him, shut up. The hero draws his sword with a quick horizontal swing. The opponent dodges it, bending in time. He then concentrates the energy in his sword and strikes at the enemy, to the spy. But Tenjin dodges in time with a jump to the side. Soldier Ning cuts through the tent fabric. The general of the enemy army decides to find out whether the hero belongs to Feng Lai. The last one is confident, confirms it. Then the enemy, having evaluated the abilities of the guy and realizing that he is not an ordinary soldier, decides to find out his name. Tenjin introduces himself. The man notices that he has never heard this name. After that, the hero decides to find out the name. Your enemy. His name is Yongku. Tenjin responds with the same coin, stating that he has never heard of him. Yongku notices that he has slipped into his army, but now he can't escape. But if he does, if he surrenders now, then there is a chance that he will spare him. The hero declares that everything will be solved in the future, in combat, then adds to it by pointing the sword in the direction of the enemy and saying that there is a lot of excess from it. Noise level. A charge of energy passes through the man's hand, which he releases in the direction of the hero. The same is not. It moves from its place. Tenjin accepts the pressure not for himself, noting his strength. The other soldiers are Ning. They can't move from this pressure. Yongku doesn't wait for the guy to come to his senses and recover. He immediately attacks it. Tenjin manages to completely evade the attack. The enemy's spear stabs him in the side. He clutches at the wound, realizing that the case smells fried. The opponent says that the boy has chosen an enemy that is too tough for him. The hero isn't. I intend to just give up. He throws his sword at the opponent's face. Yongku says that this is a dirty trick, and then breaks the thing flying at him in mid-flight. The weapon is delivered in one precise and quick blow, but the guy is no longer there. On his arm, a tear went off, black fire, and he headed towards the crowd of Ning soldiers that surrounded them. With a few touches, Tenjin burns the carcasses of enemies, restoring his reserve of strength and healing the wound. His eyes change again, turning red with a black iris. The other enemies quickly realize that this is a dark art, noticing that his wounds are completely destroyed. They were healed. Yongku also lashes out at the hero, claiming that he will pay for this with his life. The enemy leader misses. His spear does not find its target, and Tenjin accelerates, killing even more of his soldiers and replenishing their energy reserves. This angers the man, so he lets go. Release your entire aura, covering yourself with a layer of energy. Tenjin feels the danger coming from the enemy. The same one shouts that it is the spear of the Soul Slayer. The next moment, energy arrows start raining down from the sky, killing the soldiers. Ning, the hero, hides behind the carcass of one of them, calmly waiting for this attack. The shelling continues, but the guy doesn't waste any time. He analyzes the situation, noticing that the tent is on the hill directly in front of him. He notices that the guards at the tent are too calm. When their battle is going on nearby, Tenjin understands that there is someone important in the tent. He realizes that Yongku Reiki is beyond his imagination, so he is definitely not a match for him. Here it is. He notices a young man peeking out of the tent, wondering what happened. He also says that he has heard that the killer is in the camp, so it is not clear to him why he has not yet been informed. They brought his head. One of the soldiers, addressing the guy as His Highness, reports that General Yang is currently fighting with the enemy, so he is sure that he will defeat him soon, but he asks the guy to return to the tent. The prince laughs, saying that they have so many warriors on their side, and the enemy is just an ordinary small one, a thief, so he has nothing to fear. At the same time, beauties hang on the guy, and in his hands he holds a golden glass. He orders the guards to disperse so that he can watch it. One of the subordinates again. He says that it is very dangerous, because he has heard that the enemy practices a dark martial art, so he asks him to go back to the tent. This, on the contrary, causes enthusiasm in the prince, because to him, I want to take a look at this dark art. At the same time, the hero continues to reduce. Distance yourself from the prince, killing his soldiers along the way. Tenjin's aura is becoming increasingly sinister. Black fire now envelops all of his bodies, allowing you to move so fast that ordinary soldiers simply cannot oppose anything. General Yang orders the worthless bastards to capture him immediately, because this is a game of cats. It should come to an end. The man is enveloped in a pall of red energy, and he breaks into follow the guy at an incredible speed. Tenjin deals with Ning soldiers with his bare hands, simply ripping off their heads and easily breaking through their armor. Yongku appears behind him, raising his loaded spear. Red energy for impact. General Yang's attack overtakes the guy, which is why he draws a strip of several meters with his carcass. The prince's guard notices that General Yang has taken him down, so there's no need to be afraid. Prince, he claims that he knew he was a weakling and that General Yang was unique. The hero raises his own. A glance, realizing that he and his target were only a few measly meters away. Tenjin gets to his feet, and the prince notices that the enemy is still alive, so he orders, kill him immediately. A huge number of copies surround the guy, but he does not even think to give up. While dodging the attacks of ordinary warriors, the hero uses dark flames to kill them, restore them, and save them. Use your powers and heal your wounds. However, the people who protect the prince are not Bass Zone. 2. The spears still reach the hero, piercing his stomach. He coughs up blood, then looks up and looks into the prince's eyes, smiling. The latter is annoyed by this, so he screams that he will tear him to pieces. At this point, the hero's aura becomes even more sinister. When the other soldiers are about to stab it from all sides, it disappears, starting with a bullet. Move at breakneck speed. He finds himself standing next to the prince, who drops his phone in shock. Glass. General Yang realizes that he has contacted the assassin in the shadows. He orders to protect the prince, but already, it's late. Tenjin is behind the prince, ready to break his neck at any moment. He orders no one to move, otherwise he will burn the hostage to ashes. Yang Ku steps forward, declaring that Tom should stop. The hero also notices that if he wants to protect his, then he must first do something for the master. The man orders to say that the guy needs it, and if something happens to his highness, he will kill him. On the hand of General Yang, golden energy passes through. This causes laughter to Tenjin, who says that life is his own. The master is in his hands, so he should be prepared to negotiate. The guy also urges not to use spiritual pressure on him, because this will not surprise him. He also ensures that his dark flame kills the master faster than he can do anything else. Do it, and if he doesn't believe it, then he is ready to check. General Yang asks the hero not to be stupid and say what he wants. First, the guy demands to release his people. Yang Ku is informed that this is not a problem, specifying what other requirements there will be. The hero tells him to do his first task. Requirement. For clarity, he squeezes the prince's throat tightly. The man asks to stop, promising to fulfill his request. Tenjin mentally understands that the situation is worse than ever. After all, he is surrounded by strong enemies, and the presence of their leader and hostages does not guarantee him survival. Besides, no one can help him because his people are too far away from him right now. Yang Ku orders the hostages to be brought here. After a few minutes, the hero's people come to him. Zhang Bao reports that the others are dead. Tenjin orders you to stand around him and don't touch him. Let Ning's men get closer. As soon as the subordinates carry out this order, the guy says its second requirement. He orders 30 horses to be equipped immediately and give his people the swords. General Yang doesn't understand why Tom needs so many horses. The hero isn't. He does not intend to say so, but simply orders them to comply with this requirement, otherwise he will kill them. The master, the prince, asks not to be killed, and then orders Yang Ku to do whatever he says. The man gives the order to equip the horses. When all Feng soldiers receive horses, the hero demands that the enemy soldiers let them pass. General Yang asks that he dismissed his highness. The guy also says that he will do it when he leaves and is in the hospital. And if he doesn't believe him, then there's nothing he can do about it, because his death, equivalent to the prince's death. The latter asks Yang Ku to just give as he says. If something happens to him, he should go to his brother and tell him about it. Man orders the gate to be opened. The hero, along with his people, sends forward on horseback. He is being chased by General Yang So. With your own people, the hero demands that he order that no one dares to pursue them. The man tells the interlocutor to release his majesty first. The guy explains that he will only do this after they arrive in Tongmen, and before that, the prince will be with him. Yang Ku is the same. He says that if he does, he won't let him leave. Tenjin informs his brothers that they are heading to the Ning checkpoint. Zhang Bao a little surprised by this decision, so he asks if they're not going back to Tongmen and where they will go. The hero explains that they will go to Wu Yume, because they cannot do without their help, because there are too few of them, and he thinks they won't make it to Tongmen. Zhang Bao. He notices that General Wu should have reached the checkpoint by now. General Yang also pursues the hero's squad with several subordinates. He commands them, speed up, because they must save his highness in any way possible. At the same time, someone destroys a soldier's armor in one hit. Tenjin orders his subordinates to stop, because there is a battle ahead. The Feng soldiers are looking at. They are at a loss. Zhang Bao doesn't understand why they look at them like that. Here the hero hears his own name and turns around in the direction of the voice. Wu Mei is walking towards him. He notices that two sisters, at their spiritual level of control, can combine a shield, spiritual weapons combined. But to reach this level, you need at least an aura no weaker than Wu Mei's. After that, he pays attention to her sister, Wu Yong, realizing that she doesn't care at all. No weaker than my sister. Tenjin admits that they are very strong, and that the two sisters are not just like that. You've earned yourself such a reputation. Tenjin thinks that his brother can't be on the battlefield right now because he doesn't know what to do. He is proficient in martial arts. Then he hears the voice of Eugene, who is happy that the guy, alive, Soldier Ning, finally catches up with the hero's squad. He notices that these are the only survivors of Feng, then realizes that it was stupid not to understand right away. He is preparing to fight back against his own An enemy. Tenjin grins at this. At the same time, the prince comes to his senses. The hero grabs him by the throat, demanding that he give the order. Let your men fall back. The rich man asks to be spared. The enemy soldier calls the guy trash, then orders to surround the Feng squad. General Yang intervenes. He orders us to stop. The two Feng soldiers that were fighting in this area, they are surprised at the appearance of such a significant person here. One of them reports Jan, who said that there are martial artists among the enemies and they have heavy losses, but they managed to surround their enemies. General Yang orders them to be released. General Wu decides to find out who Tenjin captured. She puts a gun to the prince's head, ordering you to speak. His name is Yu Sheng, and he is the third son of King Ning. It's not much, surprises the girl. The rich man notices a guy who says that since she already knows who he is, then she should better let him go. A representative of the fair sex laughs at this, mentally noting that the other person does not understand what position they are in. General Wu praises the hero, saying that she wasn't wrong about him and that he served her well this time. Once, after that, the girl turns to the enemy leader, asking if it is General Yang Ku. He gives a positive answer, asking with whom he has the honor to speak. It is presented after, whereupon the man declares that if she frees His Majesty, he will use his powers, make connections to help them avoid the consequences and leave safely. Representative. The fairer sex grins at this. Seeing this, Yang Ku clarifies that she doesn't believe him. The latter claims that now it is not available to anyone. He confides in her, then tells her that he will return to Tongmen with his men first, and only then. After that, she will release His Highness. General Yang asks if they have the ability to, something to negotiate. The hero presses on the neck of the prince, who asks his subordinate, agree, because it hurts him. This makes the man give up, saying that while His Highness, unharmed, they won't take any action. Upon hearing this, General Wu informs them that they are leaving General Yang. She commands to move out. Soldier Ning doesn't believe that they will just let them go. General Yang also notes that they are nothing. They can't help it, because they have His Highness as a hostage. The problem is that the probability that if you try to save the prince, he will die, and no one will want to be responsible for this responsibility. The man decides that it is impossible to hide the fact that one of the three princes was captured, so he orders to report it to the second prince. The prince cries, realizing that he was in a very unenviable position. The girl notes that this is the second trap that Tenjin has successfully circumvented. The latter declares that this is all thanks to General Wu's guidance, thoughtful planning, and great strategy. However, he hoped that next time the girl wouldn't dump so much on his head. Eugene, like any reasonable person, is aware that his brother has said a little too much, so he immediately asks if he is injured. The hero claims that he has only a small abrasion. General Wu tosses him a small container of liquid. The guy catches it, asking what it is. She also explains that this is a painkiller. Tenjin thanks her for this. General Wu hurries to ask him not to think about drinking it, because this medicine is applied to the wound. The hero takes these words into account. A second nurse appears from behind and clarifies how to. The guy managed to catch Yu Sheng. The prince says he used magic. This is surprising. A girl. Both girls ask again what the word magic means. The prisoner says that in that time, the guy was standing in front of him, and he didn't understand how the guy used magic, but after a moment, he did. I was right behind him, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to grab him. Tenjin responds to the prince, a slap on the back of the head, saying that he doesn't need to open his mouth, because there's no need for anything. Explain. General Wu decides to find out what they will do with the prisoner, kill him or let him go. Eugene interrupts the conversation, stating that they can't leave him, so he suggests sending him to Tongmen after he kills him. He understands that although Feng has suffered a huge loss, and they being able to take one of the three princes of Ning, it can't be considered compensation. Hostage C. He is surprised to realize that they are going to kill him. Looking down on the enemy's camp from a hill, the scientist says there are at least 4 armies there. This, more than 400,000 people. The interviewee notices that even if this is not the case, they will soon be able to find out more. It will be exactly that much. Eugene doesn't know how to get through when there are so many enemies out there. Tenjin claims that they will pass between them using their majesty's importance to them. The hero offers to go further. General Wu doesn't understand where the guy is going. He informs them that they will be on their way to Tongmen. The interviewee asks him to wait for her. I could think through everything. Tenjin also notes that if they stay, they will find themselves in even greater dangers. The guy says that they should continue to move, because they become vulnerable when they stop, so you should skip very quickly. The second sister understands that even if they will kill Yu Sheng and stay put, this is the end for them, so she approves of the guy's plan, wanting to take advantage of the opportunity. After hearing the approval of a loved one, General Wu orders to raise the flag and start moving forward only. They are approaching a large gate at a large border post. Horses and ordinary people. The soldiers clearly cannot overcome such an obstacle in their path. The gate opens, and out of it, a man of aristocratic appearance appears, who immediately clarifies who their leader is. The hero asks a counter-question about who he is. He introduces himself. His name is Yu Jie. General Wu reports that this is His Highness, the second prince. She's a little surprised that they will be held by the prince's personal order. He just wants to know where his brother is. In the moment a hostage shows his voice, asking his brother to save him. Yu Jie demands that the hero release his brother. General Wu doesn't understand why he's angry. After all, they only want to go to Tongmen, and then they will let His Highness go. The second prince sets its own conditions. He wants his brother released first, and then he'll let them go. Pass is its only condition. General Wu stands his ground, unwilling to give in. Yu Jie understands that they will not come to an agreement. The hero intervenes in the conversation, noting that they are not. They talk about his conditions, but his brother's life is in his hands. The second prince declares that if even one hair falls from the hostage's head, he will kill the guy. Tenjin pulls off the third prince's ear with a confident movement, saying that this is just the beginning. The prisoner screams as if he is being slaughtered like a pig. All Ning soldiers point their weapons at the hero. Even the second prince is getting ready to bear your sword. General Wu doesn't understand what this guy is trying to achieve. The hero is looming over us, the body of the hostage, clarifying who dared to move. Such an action causes Yu Jie to recover from his anger. He asks not to touch his brother, but the hero notices that this request will be granted if only he passes them. The second prince agrees to this if the interlocutors promise not to hurt their brother again and let him go. General Wu says she has already promised that once they reach Tongmen, she will give him to leave. Hearing this, Yu Jie orders the soldiers to disperse to let the enemies pass. Subordinates doubt this. Then the aristocrat reminds that he is higher in status from why everyone has to accept this truth. Feng's squad is allowed to pass through the checkpoint. On the way, General Wu decides to find out why Tenjin was like this. I'm sure Yu Jie will give up. The guy explains that it's just human nature. He draws an analogy with the fact that if Wu Ying was in captivity, the interlocutor would have done the same. Hearing this, the leader rushes to find out where the hero's family is now. The guy points to the sky with his finger, and the girl understands that his family is in the sky. The hero is the same, notices it so that it's better not to appear there. General Wu decides to find out what the guy was doing before joining the army. Tenjin gives a simple answer: killed. It's a little unsettling. So the guy explains that this means that he is a murderer. She looks him up and down carefully. Feeling the scrutinizing gaze on him, Tenjin clarifies that he doesn't look like the killer. The girl admits that she can't believe it, because he doesn't seem to. So, she asks if he's a killer. How many lives did he take? The guy replies that countless of them. At this point, the group is approaching the city, the gate to which they're closing it. The second prince orders them to stop, because they promise to let him go. My brother when they get to Tongmen. The hero also says that it is too early for this. Yu Jie rushes to find out what Tenjin is up to, but the latter does not have time to answer Tom, because an arrow is driven into the ground in front of his horse. The archers on the walls say not to come so close. The girl presents, demanding an audience with the local general. A man in a different combat uniform looks out from the wall. The rest of them. General Wu recognizes him as General Zhencheng, whom she interviewed recently. She asks if he recognizes her. When she doesn't get an answer, she asks again if they want to let her and them in. Van notifies that the city gates are already closed, so the only way to get inside is by climbing up ropes that throw the squad off the walls. The Feng soldiers begin to climb up, and the girl decides to find out what the hero is waiting for. Tenjin rushes to find out what they will do with the hostage. General Wu states that there is no point about. Don't worry. She informs one of the soldiers that he can pick it up when they enter the building. City. The hero specifies whether the interlocutor wants to kill him. The girl notices that the guy will not give. The third prince should leave. Tenjin also says that, in his opinion, people should keep their word. The girl does not believe her ears, because Tenjin wants to entrust them to the enemies. This sounds like crazy. She puts her hand on his shoulder, insisting that they won't argue about this, so he needs to follow her. The guy also asks the girl to climb first, and he will stay. A representative of the fair sex does not understand what he wants to do. The hero also notices that if she didn't keep her word, then he couldn't do that. General Wu stresses that Yu Sheng is the Prince of Ning, and that he is their enemy, so they can't let him go. Eugene intervenes in the conversation, saying that the murder of the third Prince Nai, it will not affect anything, and they will only make more evil Nings for themselves, which is not very good for them. Realizing that this is a very good argument, to which she has nothing to answer, the girl reports that This is the last time she follows his advice. The scientist also asks that the brother not join the marriage conflict with General Wu over Yu Sheng. The hero thanks his friend for his help, and then he orders us to climb. A small argument begins between Eugene and Tenjin because the former does not want to leave his brother. 1. The hero declares that if he dies, then he is not to blame. At this point to them, a cavalry detachment is approaching. The second prince asks when they will finally let his brother go. The hero, noticing that almost everything his men are already in, and he throws the hostage at the other man's feet. The second prince is angry at this treatment of his loved one. He takes off 2 guys with their squad. The hero also asks Eugene to hurry up and climb the wall. General Wu commands the archers to shoot in such a way as to protect General Tang. Several arrows hit the second prince's escort, but the latter dodges them. After that, a golden armor of energy appears on it. The third prince intervenes. He asks not to catch up with Tenjin. This surprises my brother a little, which tries the reason for such a request. Then the former hostage explains that let Tenjin in. Hurt him, but he saved him. This confuses him. Intervenes in the conversation General Yang, who reveals that Wu Mei wanted to kill him, but Tenjin stopped her to save his life. At this moment, the hero had almost reached the walls. While Eugene was climbing up on the ledge itself, the boy, he looked at the Ning people. The second prince stated that the next time they met, one of them would be definitely going to die. General Wu points out that the guy trusts his enemies, but they don't trust him, so he shouldn't do it anymore. Doing something so stupid. The hero notices that he simply does not want his conscience to torment him, and the actions of others are their concern. After that, the girl introduces the guy to the man who let them in. In the city, Eugene says that his brother should be thanked. The girl remembers all of it. He deserved it, knowing that he had behaved very bravely. He caught Yu Sheng, saved her, and saved all of them. She ponders whether there is a suitable reward for him. While she's thinking, the man introduces himself. He is the head of the Guangzhou clan. It states that defending Tongmen and capturing an enemy prince among numerous enemies shows that the guy is a real hero. Tenjin says that he was just very lucky. Interlocutor takes it for modesty. After that, the man turns to General Wu, asking him to enter the hall for a vacation. After all, she made a very grueling journey. The girl also asks that too. Tired soldiers were also treated accordingly. A representative of the fair sex asks Tenjin to go after her, after which she appeals to General Guangzhou, wanting to learn more about Tongmen. She specifies how many soldiers are there. The man says less than 20,000. Because of the Ning, many men from Tongmen were defeated or missing, so the city is in big trouble. Mei changes the subject, deciding to find out what the other person knows about General Ziyang. The same one tells that Ziyang has returned to Yangcheng with a defeat, which greatly angered the king, because of which the general's life hangs in the balance. This would not only have a bad effect on his entire family in the future, but also not on the Wu family. The girl is the same. She says her family won't be involved. General Wu clarifies whether 10,000 Tongmen soldiers will be able to provide protection, because Ningyi, they are outnumbered, so they can't guarantee victory. For this reason, the girl asks if there will be reinforcements from Yangcheng. The man declares that the king has already sent a corps of soldiers. Mi wondered who was leading them. Their leader is Wang Kai. This is the name. Surprises the fair sex. General Wu notes that if you move quickly, the journey from Yangcheng to Tongmen will take 5 days. Therefore, it can be said that Yangcheng's troops will arrive soon. General Guangzhou states that Liang Kai, it took him 7 days to move, and that he had sent men several times to hurry him, but that he had not been able to do so. Makes excuses and avoids it. It's obvious to the man that the Liang family doesn't want to join the war to save your soldiers. The girl understands that without the support of soldiers, Tongmen will definitely fall. Evening comes. The hero was given a separate room. He hears a knock on the door, and then allows you to log in. Eugene and a middle-aged man enter the room. The scientist explains that General Zhang Zheng sent this doctor to see his brother. Tenjin also notices that he has only minor injuries. Eugene puts the emphasis on the fact that they don't know when the Ning soldiers will surround them, so to his brother, you should heal your body as soon as possible. The doctor also notes that if minor injuries occur, if injuries are not treated in time, they may soon lead to death. Wise. The person also says that it is better not to act recklessly, because if the wounds worsen, even if they are injured, the general doctor will not be able to cure him. After this, Tenjin simply can't refuse from treatment. When it's all over, he thanks the doctor for his help. Eugene asks for his brother. Listen to what the doctor said about his injuries. Realizing that you need to take care of your health, the hero gives a positive answer. Eugene is the same. Decides to get down to business when the doctor leaves them. It tells that the relationship between General Zhang Zheng and the Wu family aren't exactly natural, so he's afraid that General Zhang Zheng won't go to Yangcheng and General Wu might risk his life to help him. Tenjin becomes curious about what happened to Yongcheng and Liang Kai in the past. The scientist is the same, notices that this is a long story. Feng has 4 houses: Is Young's house, Liang's house, Wu's house, and Zhang's house. These 4 houses manage more than half of Feng's strength. The eldest son of the Yang family, Yang Haochun, is the most important. General Feng has a noble rank and controls 15 battalions of soldiers. This, more than 150,000 people. Yang Zhenkun is the head of the Liang family, which is located in the east. Besides, he's also a noble. Yang Zhenkun controls 10 battalions of soldiers. Wu Yuguan is the head of the Wu family, which is located in the west. He has a noble title and controls 8 battalions of soldiers, including the 2nd and 3rd legions. Zhang Tian the head. The Chun Tian family, the best Feng commander, has a noble rank and controls 6 battalions of soldiers, which means that the 4 families control almost 400,000 soldiers. In addition, the royal family controls 200,000. Each of the local forces has 200,000. That is the total number of Feng forces. In this war with the Ning, the royal family was directly involved with 6. By the battalions, the Zai Yong family sent 10 and the Wu family laid out. But no one expected Ning. They will be ready before them and will have 400,000 soldiers on the Eastern River. Feng army. It was suddenly surrounded from the north by the Eastern River. Along the Eastern River, both sides entered into a war. A decisive battle in the mountain plains, with 400,000 Ningxia soldiers. Feng was defeated. This happened before Tenjin and Eugene met. The hero realizes that this means that the Ning will come here after they win. Eugene notices that the Ning army is well prepared, because in just 2 days it destroyed 200,000 men of their strongest army and took control of Tongming. He's afraid of what's next. Yancheng will fall. The scholar even dares to say that there is a spy from Ning among them, who is bothering them. Reports everything to the enemy. Tenjin asks if his brother is sure of these words. The latter explains that it takes several steps, months to gather 400,000 soldiers and provide for all the needs of the army, so Ning. They were ready and waiting for an attack, which looks very suspicious. Hero notices that this is not something they should care about right now, because at the moment there is only one problem, one thing that is urgent. Eugene asks with interest what his brother means by that. Tenjin claims that this is a dream. He asks the scientist to leave the room and not disturb him. The hero wakes up in the morning. He doesn't know where his clothes are. In his room it turns out. She turns out to be Xiao Yu's maid in this building. General Zheng Yizeng has already ordered new clothes and breakfast to make it ready. Tenjin asks the maid to leave her clothes and leave his room. The girl says that she couldn't leave because she'd been told to help him change. The guy is already more aggressive. He demands that she leave the room because he wants to change himself. The maid stops me on the way out of the room, not understanding what I did wrong because I upset the general with something. The hero explains that he just isn't used to it. After that, Xiao Yu is removed. The guy starts to eat when General Wu's voice interrupts him, suggesting that he go to the next meal. Other important things. She puts her hand on his shoulder, insisting that they won't stay in Tongmen for a long time. The girl wants them to go out to the square on the day Yongcheng arrives. The hero declares that he is not interested in this. Mei also notes that she did not ask for his opinion. The brunette clarifies what she wants. A representative of the fair sex replies that she has come just to say hello. Tenjin mockingly notices that the girl does not show proper respect for her leader. These words make me angry. She draws her sword, holding the blade to her throat. The other person. The hero says that he thinks Miss Wu has no shortage of soldiers. The girl doesn't understands what the guy is driving at. The dark-haired man grabs the girl's sword with his chopsticks, saying only one word, friend. This a little surprises the girl, so she rushes to clarify in order to accurately understand the intentions of the guy. If he wants to be her friend. In her mind's eye, Mi is glad that the other person said he wanted to be her friend. At this moment, Tenjin says he can let her be his friend. This makes the girl laugh, so she decides. Find out if the guy knows who she is. The brunette reveals that she is the eldest daughter of the Wu family, one of nobles, and is responsible for the 2nd and 3rd platoons.